Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. We need to talk. I've been struggling now for some time trying to figure out the best way to do this. Ultimately, I'm just going to be fully transparent and let you know what I've been thinking and what I've been struggling with. Tesla itself has changed its own mission statement, going from transitioning the world to sustainable energy now to one of amazing abundance. And it's now been years that myself and many others have been calling Tesla an AI company when many others were still labeling it as a car company. And this channel, Electrified, was always a very Tesla-focused channel, as that's where my personal interest and passion lies. But for years, we talked about the rest of the auto industry and their electrification plans. But fast forward to today, and largely the rest of the industry isn't doing anything in terms of electrification, at least not at scale. And then just right now, short term, Tesla is in this transition phase where the news flow is just different than it used to be. And I just don't have it in me to try to turn any small little tidbit of information into a big breaking news story that deserves in-depth coverage. Nor do I think it's the right path for me to just start uploading all of Elon's videos on my own channel as if it was my own content. And as always, no shade to anybody that does that. They're just playing the game, growing their followers, making more money, and it's great for them. And with the edits for improved quality, it can absolutely be a valuable service. I'm just saying it's not something I think I should be doing as well. And my personal mission with the channel has always been to be as valuable as possible, to try to focus on signal and not noise. And lately, with the scope of Electrified, I just have to be honest, I felt very limited because my personal passions have broadened significantly, as behind the scenes I've been quite deep in AI land, playing with all of these tools and new models, following that news flow because I believe deeply it's going to change the world in ways we have not seen in some time. And further, there's just no way around it. This Tesla and SpaceX potential merger is not going away anytime soon. It does seem to become more likely by the day, even though people like Ron Barron have poured a bit of cold water on that. But the fact is, Ron doesn't know, nor does anybody else. Elon might not even know for sure at this point. But what's happening with SpaceX and Cursor and Anthropic and data centers in space and Grok clearly will have huge implications for Tesla's future business, whether there's a merger or not. Those synergies will continue to grow. The Terafab will continue to be a joint project. So whether we like it or not, SpaceX and Tesla are already quite intertwined, and with each passing month, that will likely become bigger. And if this SpaceX AI Tesla merger is officially proposed one day, I will feel much better knowing that I took some time doing my best to educate everybody on both sides of the argument so everyone can make an informed decision. So I've just been starting to feel like there are things I should be talking about that I want to talk about, but they've been a bit outside the scope of this channel and how I've been operating it to date. So much so that a few weeks back, I actually bought a trademark as I was going to start a new channel more focused on AI because I feel that strongly about it. The problem is, given everything I have going on in my life right now behind the scenes, if I'm being honest with myself, I'm not sure I have the bandwidth to start another channel from zero. In the future, later this year or into next year, possibly, but I've just been thinking about the best way to go forward for a long time. Another storyline that gets mentioned all the time is this convergence of Elon's companies into one massive conglomerate. Now, that may never happen, but you cannot argue that just like Tesla and SpaceX, there are already synergies between many of Elon's companies. Think about the Boring Company and how they'll use Tesla vehicles, and eventually it'll be on FSD. So without rambling for another 10 minutes, because trust me, I easily could, what I'm thinking is I would like to slowly over time start to broaden what we talk about here on this channel. To be clear though, for the foreseeable future, Tesla will always be the focus. So for the next few months, from a content perspective, the only thing I would think about changing is adding in some more topics toward the end of the videos that people can either choose to watch or not. It would be things like SpaceX and Starlink news and how this Cursor deal with SpaceX might impact something like this Digital Optimist program that that these companies are working on. It would be bringing everyone up to speed on some of these models from Cursor and how they compare to the industry and what some of these benchmarks are and how they work. Really, just so everybody can stay educated on the latest and greatest in the AI space. But again, for the next few months and beyond, it would be as closely related to Tesla as possible. And I'm still not sure if in the short term I have the bandwidth to go back to doing daily videos, but at some point in the future, that's certainly on the table if there's more topics that I can cover, knowing that most of you here that have been here loyally for years are still interested in these broadening topics. And I think it would be nice for a portion of viewers here to have some 10 to 15 minute videos instead of 20 to 30 every now and then. So depending on how the voting goes, I'm going to have a poll here shortly on this video, and I'm also going to run one over on X. And I would greatly appreciate it if you would take a minute or so to provide your feedback, because I will be listening and it will have an impact on how I move forward. So what I'm thinking is this: the trademark that I bought that was going to be for a new channel is Demystify. Spelled differently, I think it's awesome. It's just breaking down the latest in the AI world. But once again, the content of the channel would still be focused on Tesla first and foremost. And gradually over time, I would just start adding in some broader, more AI topics toward the end of the videos. I'll keep doing the timestamps as I've always done so you can navigate how you see fit. And ultimately, I just know I'm at my best when I'm pursuing the things that I'm passionate about. It's why I started this channel in the first place. And lately, I've felt a bit stuck, kind of like a caged lion, where I can only talk about certain topics on this channel because I respect all of you guys so much and I appreciate all of your support so much that I've wanted to keep delivering what you guys have come to expect. So going forward, I don't want you to think that this is some big departure from what we've been doing, rather than a growing of the channel and an adding to what we've been doing. And hopefully in the end, I can become an even more valuable and educational resource. One that I think is much more aligned with where Elon and Tesla are at now and where they're going. And further than that, one that's better aligned with the world that we are all living in, trying to make sense of. And for me, the Electrified branding will always have a very special place in my heart, but if I'm being honest, it feels like it's the branding of the past. And like I said, I'm still going to cover all of the topics that I have been, I'll just be adding to them. So electrification and sustainable energy is still going to be a core part of what we talk about. It's just with this rebranding, I wouldn't feel so limited, and this is not your concern, but I do think it might be better for me to actually grow the channel a bit going this route. And again, ultimately, I just want to be as valuable a resource as I can, breaking down the most critical news of our day so everyone can make informed decisions not only about investing, but about life in general and how we spend our time, the tools that we decide to play with and use, and to integrate in our daily workflows. And I just happen to feel strongly that my skill set will be maximized by broadening the scope of the channel going forward. So one more time, this is not a major departure from the content we've been creating on this channel. It's simply an addition to it. So please take a second to vote. I think I can put a poll up on the screen now. Hopefully you guys will see that and vote. And I'll also have one over on X as well. So thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hopefully understanding at least a bit where I'm coming from with this. And cheers to hopefully many more years covering Elon, Tesla, and AI news as valuably as I can. And I'm going to fly through the rest of this video for today to try to keep the video as short as possible so more people watch and hopefully provide their feedback, both in the voting and in the comments below. You guys loved this one last year, so I figured I should run it back this year and give you the opportunity yet again. Today's video is sponsored by Chesed Chicago, and they're running their 12th annual Tesla raffle. So not only can you support a great cause, but enter for the chance to win a Tesla, a Rivian, a Lucid, or you can just take $50,000 in cash. And on their website, you can go see the winners for the past 11 years. Your tickets do two things. Of course, give you a real shot at some pretty special prizes, but it also helps Chesed Chicago keep running their 80+ programs that support families in crisis, from food and furniture to helping people find jobs and a lot more. And don't be afraid to go to their website and look at all of the service work this organization does. It's not some fly-by-night company. They've been around for decades. The early bird special is going on right now for a limited time. The deadline is Monday, May 25th at 11 11:59 p.m. Central Time. And if you buy 2 or more tickets, you'll be automatically entered to win a new top-of-the-line smartphone. You'd have your choice of an iPhone 17 Pro Max or a Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. Plus, this year you can supercharge your entry, if you will, for $10 per ticket to add a Tesla wall connector, including installation, to your prize if you win. And they're saying only 9,999 tickets will be sold, so once they're gone or the drawing date hits, that's it. So if you'd like the chance to win those prizes and do some good, you can head to ccraffle.com, linked below, and use my code Electrified to get $25 off 2 tickets or $500 off 15. Again, that's ccraffle.com and code Electrified. Good luck. I feel a bit dirty reporting on this one, but Electric had an exclusive report today that Tesla's building its solar panel factory in Houston, specifically in Brookshire, where it will be co-located with the mega factory Tesla's building at the site. Tesla has been doing most of its solar work at Giga New York to date, where the capacity is said to be around 300 megawatts per year. But we know Elon has said both Tesla and SpaceX will each build out 100 gigawatts of solar manufacturing capacity in the years ahead. We also learned this year Tesla was in talks to buy $2.9 billion of Chinese solar manufacturing equipment. And we also know the plan for this site is to be fully integrated, so taking the raw input silicon and the ingots to the wafers to the PV cells all the way to final panel assembly. Electric's also saying that Tesla's building highly complex clean room grade manufacturing environments with more than $250 million in capex across multiple simultaneous facility builds, and that Chinese solar manufacturing equipment was reported to be shipping to Texas. The site in Brookshire, about 35 miles west of Houston, that's where Tesla leases 2 buildings totaling 1.65 million square feet, and that development includes plans for an additional 600,000 square foot building, taking the total to over 2 million square feet. The site is 100% leased to Tesla under a long-term agreement. We know Tesla bundles megapacks with utility scale solar installations and Powerwall with rooftop solar. So having both manufacturing operations on the same site makes sense, simplifying the supply chain logistics. And Houston also offers a major port for equipment imports, something that Austin cannot offer. So Tesla going from 300 megawatts in Buffalo to 100 gigawatts in Houston would be over a 300x. Now, of course, I think this is going to take longer than Tesla's timeline of around 2028, but we know directionally the scale that they're aiming for. For context, First Solar, the current largest domestic solar manufacturer in the US, is expecting to have under 18 gigawatts of capacity by 2027. So Tesla's aiming for 6 times that. And if Tesla pulls this off, it would be one of the biggest solar manufacturers in the world. And as we know, guys, this really is the start of it. These solar panels will eventually power data centers on Earth and in space. And it would be a time like this where I could dive into Colossus and its compute and what it means that xAI is now transitioning into becoming a cloud provider. And I know xAI technically doesn't exist, but I'm still going to use the name, and I'm just going to call it SpaceX for simplification. Maybe I'll change that after IPO or if I hear a lot of feedback, but we'll see. Some more context from the Solar Energy Industries Association. The US solar industry installed 43 gigawatts of capacity in 2025, which was a 14% decrease from 2024. Said another way, if this facility hits 100 gigawatts per year at some point in the future, it would be more than double the capacity that the entire US added in 2025. And in 2025, wafer capacity came online in the US for the first time since 2016. Module manufacturing grew more than 50% last year, but the actual production of these facilities remains considerably below domestic demand. And on the Q1 call this year, Vaibhav did say Tesla has already started placing orders for solar manufacturing equipment. But importantly, that was right after saying our current expectation for this year is over $25 billion of capex, which was up from $20 billion previously. And the rest of that paragraph was Vaibhav explaining what the increase, that extra $5 billion, was for. So I think it's likely that that extra $5 billion of capex does include this facility in Houston. I wouldn't say it's official because all they said was solar manufacturing equipment, and that's likely the $3 billion deal from that Chinese company. Solar has been largely an afterthought for Tesla for the past few years, but going forward, that is certainly set to change. The New York Times put out another very positive article about the Tesla Semi, saying early reviews of the Semi suggest it could be a much needed hit for Tesla. The owner of King Theo Trucking in California, a company that has ordered 20 Tesla Semis, said the problem with the tech out there right now is the range is limited, they're heavy, and they're expensive. But she said this is something new coming to the market, talking about Tesla Semi, that kind of answers all of those problems. And the article says demand for the Semi appears strong. California trucking firms have asked the state government for subsidies to help them buy more than 1,200 Tesla Semis. That's more than all the applications for other electric trucks since the incentive program started in 2019. A truck driver said the Semi was quieter than diesel rigs, and they can run the air conditioning while waiting to drop off a load. Sometimes that's not possible with diesel trucks because California limits how long those vehicles can idle in residential areas or near schools and hospitals. Of course, to minimize pollution. Tesla's timing may be fortuitous. Diesel prices have risen around 50% since the war with Iran began, making battery power more attractive. The president of Volvo Trucks North America said, "I don't think it's disruptive," talking about the Tesla Semi. He said Volvo is planning a new model that'll have a longer range next year. And he said with Volvo's years of experience, they provide the service and reliability fleet owners demand. And the president of Daimler Truck North America said electric trucks were not practical for long trips because there aren't enough high-powered chargers. Infrastructure continues to be a challenge. To which I would add, until it's not. So time will tell if 14.3.3 is actually a banger, but one thing at Tesla that we can be pretty sure of will be a banger is Tesla's Semi. And as we've been covering, the early subsidy data confirms that notion. You may have seen House lawmakers proposed bipartisan legislation that would require EV owners to pay a $130 fee to pay for road repairs every year and $35 for some plug-in hybrids. This, of course, because EVs don't pay that diesel and gas tax, which largely goes to pay for the roads. If this goes through, the fees would be raised $5 per year starting in 2029, up to a total of $150 for EVs and $50 for plug-in hybrids. And yes, the expectation is this would be in addition to any state registration fees that you're currently paying. This year, for example, where I live, I'm set to pay $250 per EV. And while I'd love to see an itemized spending list of how these road repairs are being done and where all of that funding is actually going, I think the main pushback is just it might not be fair for EV owners that don't drive very much. They're paying the same rate as people that drive all the time. But it's one to watch. Elon just gave a new interview to Forbes and their Innovators Summit.
So 5 years being, say, 2031, I think digital intelligence will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. That there will be, in 5 years, probably, there might be let's say at least 100 million humanoid robots, but maybe a billion.
So take that for what you will, and he also mentioned opportunity here.
Electric aircraft are probably an opportunity there. I think there's some startups in that field.
What kind of aircraft?
Electric aircraft.
Yeah, electric aircraft. I'm sure that's coming.
And in a separate interview for the Samsung Smart Mobility Summit, Elon said he's hoping for FSD to be approved in Israel sometime this year, hopefully soon. But he also said that he expects widespread deployment of robotaxis in the US by the end of this year. But let's be real, Elon has been a literal yo-yo when it comes to his expectations and public statements about robotaxi rollout, so I'm really not sure how much stock we can put in any of it. And for what it's worth, he said in 10 years he thinks around 90% of all miles traveled will be autonomous vehicles. Shifting to FSD 14.3.3, that's still in the very early phases of the rollout, maybe under 50 vehicles so far based on the trackers. Elon said this one nags less, and there have been reports of some people going up to a minute without a nag. but per the usual, I think it'll be situational. Elon also said 14.3.3 is a banger. And he wasn't lying, as Devin Olson shared a video of .3 parking and hitting the curb. He said he's never had FSD back up this far during a destination park, and it only stopped after he hit the brake once they hit the curb. And in the video, he actually points out that's not even a parking space, nor is it how you're supposed to park. And I have watched Dirty Tesla's video of .3, and the parking seems quite suspect as well. So there may be some regressions in parking with .3. And Chris's wife said 14.3.x is broken, the phantom braking is getting out of hand, and she added she had a very bad phantom brake on .3 today. But overall, based on all the reports I'm seeing, it seems like the phantom braking is improved from .2, but clearly not all gone. DJ said within the first 30 seconds of .3, he had his first critical disengagement. But to be clear, later he did say the performance was much better after a rough start. The intervene screen has been updated again. It's now navigation, parking, critical, or other. And I am hearing you can remove this if you double click the voice activation button on the wheel, if you don't want to provide feedback. Mike P said he's still unfortunately seeing left lane camping in standard mode on .3. And if you somehow missed it amidst all of the debate, there is now a streak for how long you can remain on FSD without disengaging that shows up on the UI. For me, I think the solution is simple. I do not like this implementation. I would rather see a leaderboard where it just counts total miles traveled on FSD. That way you can still disengage when you need to, but continue to rack up the miles, and you can do all of it safely. And the actually smart summon speed has been bumped to 8 miles per hour, up from 6 before. For the Tesla Semi, last year, the fleet achieved over 95% uptime with those very early builds, and 75% of service visits were completed in under 24 hours. A Chinese financial outlet today is reporting that Tesla has decided to abandon its plan to build a factory in India for several reasons. Reason 1, India's domestic supply chain and industrial support system have significant shortcomings. Reason 2, Tesla and the Indian government have been locked in a long-term negotiation deadlock, unable to reach a consensus on whether to lower tariffs before or after building the factory, which is a major reason for Tesla's cancellation of the India factory plan. Further, India faces challenges like insufficient infrastructure, a mismatch between the buying power of the auto market and the positioning of Tesla's high-end models, and numerous uncertainties and policy risks in the business environment. So it sounds like it's off the table, but I would add for now, this could always be a negotiating tactic, and Tesla's just focusing on what it has going on elsewhere, and once the Cybercab is in production and deployed, and Tesla's ready to manufacture that globally, then maybe India comes back into the conversation. And this was serendipitous timing today for my argument about broadening the scope here on the channel. Elon said Anthropic won't be destroyed. Their AI in harness goes far beyond coding, and Opus 4.7 is still better than Composer 2.5, albeit a lot more expensive. Cursor is, however, an important piece of the puzzle to making Grok much better. And of course, Grok is already in Tesla vehicles and will be a huge factor when it comes to Optimus. So again, whether you're excited about AI or not, it's impossible to deny the impact all of this is going to have on Tesla's future. And it's a fascinating, very fast-moving industry. Andrej Karpathy today announced he has joined Anthropic. He said, "I think the next few years at the frontier of LLMs will be especially formative. I'm excited to join the team here and get back to R&D. I remain deeply passionate about education and plan to resume my work on it in time." And earlier this month, I'm sure you've heard it, SpaceX signed an agreement with Anthropic to provide access to Colossus 1. So the connections, the overlap, the talent, the implications, I think it's all pretty incredible. And today, Sladoc pointed out that he saw a production version Cybercab in Houston that now has a license plate. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it could be a step toward actual Cybercab deployment. However, I have to point out that the Texas Transportation Code does indeed require all vehicles being driven on the roads to have a license plate. But yes, it is indeed a required step before eventual deployment. So I'll cut it off there. I really am looking forward to all of your feedback on broadening the scope of this channel going forward. Thank you for bearing with me on the episode today. I really just need to get this all sorted so I can move forward confidently. Don't forget, check out CC Raffle linked below for those interested. Best of luck. Thank you as always for supporting the channel. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.